Hey everybody, TinyLeaf here with a quick message before we begin. Despite the title, this isn't going to be a hate video, and everything I'm saying is based entirely on my own experience with the game and the fandom. I don't think less of you if you're Nagito's #1 fan or Kenny. I still don't really know what that means, but the point still stands. And really, I don't have any legs to stand on given which characters I will defend with my own life. Anyways, trigger warnings, spoiler warnings, and here we go! Nagito Komaeda. What is there to say about him that hasn't been said already? He's the most recognizable Danganronpa character by a country mile, the star of many memes, and widely regarded as one of the best characters in the entire series. Kazuichi was the character that convinced me to give the series a try, but I was very familiar with Nagito before starting the game. Mostly because of reasons I hope my speed draw makes very clear. But lots of spoiler-free whispers in the fandom had clued me in that this was the special boy, and I was fully prepared to love this character as much as everybody else.
And then I didn't.
Yeah, if you're a regular on my channel, you have probably picked up that I'm not very big on Nagito. And it's not even that I think he's a poorly written character. On the contrary, I agree that he's probably one of the best written students and a good antagonist. A bunch of other characters I can sum up my dislike of in a couple short sentences, and I feel like my reasons are pretty straightforward. But my feelings regarding Nagito are a little more complicated, and I've spent a lot of brainpower trying to pinpoint them exactly. And I'm still trying to figure them out, to be honest. So that brings us to this video while I'm drawing him with his one true boyfriend. Because maybe by sharing my thoughts, some of you will be able to help me come around to enjoying him. Or you're going to read me to filth, which, fair enough. Anyways, let's get right down to it. Here's the thing. For most Danganronpa characters, my level of interest in them is based primarily on either the emotional connection I have to them, their journey, or how much I can project onto them. Nagito's a special case because I find him to be the most interesting on a meta level, namely in how he's an inversion to Makoto. Both of these boys are the ultimate lucky student, and Nagito was designed to be a corrupted version of the first game's protagonist. His name is even an anagram for Naegi Makotoda, which I think is supposed to translate into I am Makoto Naegi. Makoto's luck in the first game is largely undefined, and he even considers himself to be extremely unlucky. But it's that sort of odd luck that manages to get him out of sticky situations. Like getting a busted door that proves his innocence in Chapter 1, or getting saved at the last second from being executed in Chapter 5. No matter how many bad things he encounters, he always walks away despite the odds. Junko talks about this in the Danganronpa 3 anime too, which I think is very interesting.
Naegi Makoto. あいつ、ほんと邪魔くさいわね。ただの落ちこぼれじゃないの？あいつの幸運って、Komaeda先輩のとは違って、波があるせいで、私でも分析しきれないんだよね。殺すの？やめとくわ！
This luck is so subtle that it doesn't really feel like a talent, and he experiences an inferiority complex because of that. But he never loses his determination, and that's why his talent later gets relabeled to being the ultimate hope. He helps other people recognize their own inner strength to keep fighting despite whatever life throws at them. He may be ordinary, but that didn't stop him from creating a positive impact. Now Nagito? He's what happens when you take Makoto's luck and hope and then deconstruct it to the extreme. Nagito is both much more lucky and unlucky compared to Makoto. Nagito doesn't consider his luck to be an actual talent, more so as a burden that's caused him so much misery. He's filthy rich and has survived lots of dangerous events, including plane crashes and kidnappings. But in turn, he doesn't have any friends, both of his parents are dead, and he has 2 terminal illnesses that he's managed to survive somehow. So he turned to hope as a way to keep pressing forward through the difficulty. But it developed into this fanatic obsession. He speaks of hope as though it's a divine force always rising up to conquer despair, and everything he does is for the sake of perpetuating it, even if that comes at the cost of his own life or the lives of others. And this is brilliant from a writing angle. After the first game props up hope on this pedestal, Nagito's obsession and eventual role as the ultimate despair really brings into question what it means to have hope. And this perversion of hope is explored in other Danganronpa titles too. Part of me wonders if Nagito's conception was the turning point in the series' messaging and themes. Anyways, going back to Goodbye Despair, I didn't know the extent of the lore when I first started out, but I had gotten a pretty solid idea that Nagito was a misunderstood guy who was deeply unwell and that he came up with some devious schemes, as well as one other thing we'll get back to later. And don't get me wrong, that's all still 100% true. But upon playing the game, I experienced a disconnect between what I was told about him and the character I met. Let me go on record and say that I did not do his free time events as he was less aesthetically pleasing than some of my other lads. So all of my feelings about him during my playthrough were based exclusively on what was included in the main storyline. And without that additional context provided by the free time events, I found him to be quite unpleasant post-Chapter 1. I'm not saying that he deserved all the hardship that he experienced prior to playing the game, especially now that I've read through all of his free time events. Plus, the very nature of the killing game makes me more forgiving towards a good number of bad acts. But I was really struggling to scrounge up any sympathy for Nagito after he deliberately sets up Teru to commit murder and get the killing game started, constantly talks about how he'll side with the murderer if it means bringing hope to the world or something, talks about how Togami's sacrifice was for the greater good and that he actually feels a little hope because of their death, intentionally plays coy with all of his classmates when he's already figured out how the murder case happened because hope! Tries to kill off the entire class because he discovered they were all ultimate despairs and gives none of them a chance, and is really rude to Hajime after finding out he's just a lowly reserve student. That being said, there is a special type of hurt that I feel whenever I look at the way his body was discovered, because oh my god, this poor guy. I'm not heartless. Buddy, you didn't need to go that hard with your own murder setup. That is a face I still can't get out of my mind. Now, I know there's people out there who for sure like how f***ed up Nagito is and are 100% aware of the fact he's annoying to the main cast and causes problems on purpose. And you know what? Y'all are the real ones. Some of my absolute favorite characters of all time have done terrible things and I still like them despite of or because of their actions. But in some, emphasis on some, circles of the fandom, I've come across people who seem to gloss over some very valid flaws in Nagito's character, and or take it a little too personally when somebody says they dislike him. Like, babes, it's okay if you like him. I know he gets ridiculed by the class and cut off from the group, and it's sad because he is very lonely. You can sympathize and relate to him. Go buck wild. But I don't think it's unreasonable to dislike the guy. The rest of the students have plenty of valid reasons to want to keep their distance from him, given that he's responsible for getting the killing game started and had a hand in the death of 2 innocent people. And Teru. Of course, a lot of his issues are a result of his trauma that I touched on earlier. He deliberately keeps people at a distance so as to not hurt them, and his obsession with hope is enough to drive some people off. But just because I understand it and feel sorry for him, it doesn't mean I can't be irritated by him. Frankly, I'm not even sure if Nagito was meant to be seen as so likable by the player. At least not any more likable than the other rivals we've encountered. But on the subject of rivals, you might find it strange that I dislike Nagito so much, especially given that I've said before that I love Kokichi, even though he's arguably just as bad as Nagito, if not worse. So let's talk about that for a second, because I think it'd be fun. In my mind, the key difference between these two characters can be boiled down to one word. Presentation! The first chapter has Nagito being this chill, friendly dude that's a little passive-aggressive and self-defeating. I liked him then, up until he lost his marbles in the first trial and then besmirched the love of my life. After that point, the illusion of him being harmless was shattered. I knew he was dangerous and willing to spill blood, including his own, for the sake of some intangible ideal of hope. And though he still keeps some of the same level of chill most of the time, up until chapter 4, I knew he was going to snap at some point, it was just a matter of when. As for Kokichi, he started off being more of a nuisance and a jerk. He was still a rival, but on the scale of Byakuya to Nagito, he erred more so on this side. He wasn't very trusting of the class and clearly had a level of intelligence that could become a threat. But he also wasn't allying himself with the Blackened or taking any actions to hurt the student body either. He came across as more of a brat that talked a big game and nothing else. You could, and I will, make an argument that he was the least antagonist rival up until Chapter 4, when he orchestrates Miwa and Ganta's deaths. That's when you first get an inkling of how dangerous he truly is, and Chapter 5, where he really flies off the handle, actually frightened me. He psychologically broke all the survivors by showing them the outside world, like... Oh, I was in a mood for a while after that. I will say that I think Nagito's final sacrifice and setup was better handled than Kokichi's in pretty much every single way. And him being a ticking time bomb of hope felt very appropriate for the second game's messages concerning it. But Kokichi's slow descent into paranoia and desperation was more effective to me. By no means do I think he was in the right for getting a couple students killed and strong-arming Kaido into going along with his plan. He has done plenty of f***ed up things. But he also didn't come speeding out of the gate ready to use his death as a highway to hope or something. It felt more like Kokichi was pushed to the brink as a result of the killing game, like pretty much every other Blackened student. It somehow managed to put him on more even ground with the other student murderers in my head. But there is another part that I believed influenced my perception of these two antagonists. The fandom. In one of my V3 videos, I can't remember which one it is, I mentioned that I was really hesitant to play V3 because I had heard a lot of rumors about it and that it wasn't very good. One thing that I saw brought up frequently was Kokichi's role as a rival. After being told how great Nagito was and left feeling a little underwhelmed, I was not going into V3 with high expectations for this little grape gremlin. And ironically, I believe those low expectations were the reason why I wound up liking him more. Because I knew either way somebody would think I was wrong, and part of the fun for me was figuring out which side I agreed with and for what reasons. It also motivated me to complete his free time events since I was not going to make the same mistake twice, and I wanted to get the full experience. And in the end, I fell into the side of Kokichi enjoyers without feeling pressured to. And before anybody, well actually it's me, yes, I'm aware a lot of people gloss over some of Kokichi's problematic behaviors and pretend he did nothing wrong. And even though I am bothered by that as well, that's gonna be a discussion for another day. I've already talked too much about him in this video. But not enough. I do completely understand why some people find Kokichi annoying. It's just that I found his brand of annoying more on par with what I expected from an antagonist, and more specifically, what I had originally expected from Nagito. Because Kokichi doesn't try to convince you he's a good person. He's the ultimate supreme leader of evil, after all, and he revels in causing mischief. So him getting taken down a peg and seeing his mask slip felt very satisfying. The stark contrasts between his different moods excited me, because it felt like I was actually getting somewhere with him. I didn't have these same experiences with Nagito, at least not prominently enough that I felt it was worthwhile. We mostly see Nagito either being chill and passive-aggressive, or losing his goddamn mind. And there was a healthy dose of self-deprecation thrown in there too. My own pet theory is that I would have enjoyed Nagito's character more if he was cast specifically as an ally and not an antagonist, or more slowly evolved into an antagonist over the course of multiple chapters. One example that I think of is Rantaro. He reminded me a lot of Nagito, scary faces included, and I really enjoyed what screen time he got. He kind of gave the impression that I couldn't fully trust him and he might be slightly unhinged, but I also didn't know that he was necessarily a bad guy either. And really, I'm not going to pretend that I don't love characters who are slightly maniacal. But for someone who's meant to serve the role as an antagonist or a rival, I don't think Nagito's particular blend of characterization works well for me. I like feeling I've foiled some plan or tripped them up. And it's a little bit difficult to feel that way when they're constantly chill and talking about how they're a waste of space. What else am I supposed to do? Tell them that no, they're not a waste of space, and I'm definitely not salty that you literally got someone killed and it was my favorite character, but I digress. What's next on the chopping block? Oh boy. I feel like this is going to be the part that upsets a lot of people. Because I'm going to sound very petty for a second, but it kind of irks me how much the series gives Nagito in comparison to other characters. Oh sure, give the Chapter 5 victim an ass shot, lots of merch, and a major role in the spin-off game. It's not like we've got other characters out here who have next to no screen time or development or merchandise. Please, please, please give me something. And from a business standpoint, it does make a lot of sense. Lots of people love Nagito. There's a plethora of fan art of him as himself and as the servant, and 1,000 different AUs. And that's legitimately really great. I love that people have so much love for him that they keep wanting to create art because of it. Don't think I'm ever going to condemn someone for showing their love for a character through a creative outlet, even if it's a character that I don't particularly like. However, it is a little bit disheartening that the fans of less popular cast members have to struggle to find extra content, or other people who have the same passion as they do. Some characters are lucky enough to get their own think pieces, but others are barely acknowledged and hardly get any bonus content. Do you guys know how much agony I am in as an Aoi fangirl? I am in constant pain. Broadly speaking, it can be difficult to engage in a fandom that's so heavily dominated by only a handful of characters, especially if you're, at best, only ambivalent to them. Thank goodness for blacklisting, am I right, lads? But speaking of blacklisting, I'm feeling particularly sacrilegious today. Komahina is my least favorite ship.
Oh, so now the
Tsubuki shipper
is gonna preach to us.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't foreshadowing anything there. Listen, I get it. I really do. I see the subtext, and I definitely don't think this boy has a straight bone in his body. But Komahina never really clicked with me. Part of it is because I didn't play through all those free time events and island mode, so I missed like half of the shipping fodder. But the other reason is that Nagito seems to instantly dismiss Hajime once he learns about the ultimate despair and taunts him for being a reserve student. And being quite hypocritical. Nobody likes a hypocrite. I have seen the lines about how Hajime feels inexplicably drawn to him, but I don't really feel like that makes up for how much he seems to actively dislike him. And this isn't a diss towards toxic romances by any means. One of the ships that I really enjoy exploring is quite unhealthy too, even when it's between two fully consenting parties. And Komahina is really not all that toxic. It really isn't. But every time I see them together, it just doesn't feel like it has much substance to me. Honestly, I kind of see it more as a one-sided crush. Although, I remember once I saw this joke AU where there was a femme Hajime girl boss and Komaeda was a male feminist who sent Hajime $300 for a man-spreading. It was hilarious. Rival protagonist ships aren't really my thing in general, not really sure why. And because I feel Hajime has had it rough enough, I've always preferred pairing him up with partners that don't give him so many problems. At the risk of being called basic, I've always liked seeing him with Chiaki best. It's nothing groundbreaking or particularly angsty, oh wait, but it's sweet how much they enjoy each other's company. And besides, for as much as I clown on Nagito, I really want him to be with someone else who is every bit as odd as him and isn't always vaguely annoyed by his presence. Or, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I want to see him hanging out with other people besides Hajime. Like, please tell me if this is just me and if I'm not looking hard enough, but does it seem like Nagito's relationship with Hajime/Izuru Kamakura is pretty much the only one that's ever really explored in depth? Sometimes Chiaki if we're lucky. But he's rarely shown hanging out with people platonically and just being casual with them. And I think that kind of sucks. I want to see Nagito hanging out with other students and having friends more than anything else. God knows he needs them. Frankly, I think Nagito would be better off dating Chiaki because she's the only one who actually seems to like him. Yeah, I said it! I'm just this person reincarnated. Strangely enough, I don't know if this makes sense, but I like the concept of Nagito and Hajime dating more when they also throw Chiaki into the mix. I think she adds some much-needed levity to the dynamic, but if I'm being real with y'all, I don't have the brain space available to worry about the hypothetical ships of a character I tolerate. But to the people out there who ship Nagito with anybody else other than Hajime, you're fighting the good battle, guys. Keep it up. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. Do people actually think this man is hot, or is it a joke that I take too seriously? I've been puzzling over it for the past year, and I still don't get it. I don't even think it's skinny pale boy energy. Otherwise, I think I would see more thirst art of Byakuya. I have no idea if this comparison will make any sense to anybody but me and the 5 people in real life that know me, but seeing people call Nagito hot gives off the same energy as people saying Timothée Chalamet is hot. Like, okay, yeah, he's pretty, but where's the spice? Where's the pizzazz?
These dudes aren't al dente. They are crunchy and dunked in water. Put them back.
I recognize I'm not the one to talk about a character's objective hotness. I am not a man-loving man, nor do I have any interest in twinks. I'm a dumb asexual who would be more than happy to live a domestic life with a buff sweetheart who just wants to hold my hand. But why is this the boy y'all are making thirsty art over? There's so many other boys! Mondo is right here. He's exposing all of his cleavage for the world to see. Nekomaru, right here. He has muscles. Gonta! He's a ray of sunshine and a proper gentleman. There are so many beautiful boys. Please, someone explain. Please explain how this man is hot. Why is this the one that you guys always sexualize? Is it the mental illness? I know there are people out there who think Kokichi is hot. That I understand even less because he looks like someone you've shoved into a locker. I feel like I'm getting off track here. I am so tired and it's hot. It's like 115 degrees outside. Let's wrap this one up. Yeah, Nagito Komaeda. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. A popular character that I wish I liked more than I do. And I hope you people better understand where I'm coming from when I say I lack any real interest in him. Maybe you can even help me like him a little more. I've seen people make some pretty good cases for why characters I initially disliked are pretty neat. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. At the time I'm recording this, I'm about to move back to my home state after my internship, and then I will have approximately 2 days before I go back to college. Oh, pray for me, guys. But in the meantime, I'm getting around to playing Trigger Happy Havoc so I can talk more about those characters and that story. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see me ramble about how that's going and keep up with my nonsense. And if you like what I do, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to be more consistent with uploading and go for once a month again, but we're gonna see how that goes. Also quickly jumping in, recording with some phone audio because I have already packed up my microphone and I don't know where it went. So that's fun. But I wanted to jump in quickly and say that this will be the last mini video talking about Danganronpa until I get Let's Rewrite Danganronpa V3 done. But so that I have something else that I can be working on as sort of a side project, I was thinking about doing another Q&A because the last one I did was about 3,000 of you ago, and who knows, there might be some questions that you guys have thought of since then, and I think it would just be sort of fun to, catch up. I would wait until 8,000 subscribers, but honestly, who knows if we're gonna reach that point, and I don't really care. So yeah, if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask me for a future video, whenever that happens, leave them down in the comments below and I will try to sort through them. I don't know when I will have a cutoff date for any of them, so yeah, if you see this video up and another Q&A video hasn't happened, assume it's still good. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Take care, gamers, try not to melt outside, and keep your chin up. This is TinyLeaf, signing off.